And listen very carefully, because what I'm about to tell you is not just another market update. It's a direct warning signal that could impact every ounce of gold or silver you own. Before we go anywhere, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt that strange tension in the air right before something big happens? That moment when the world looks normal on the surface, underneath something is moving? Well, that's exactly where we are right now. Because today, the precious metals market is acting like a volcano seconds before eruption. Prices are shaking, charts are flashing red and green like emergency beacons. And for those holding gold or silver, this is no ordinary day. This is a turning point, a crossroads, a moment where either you rise with the market or get blindsided by what's coming next. And trust me, something is coming. You can feel it. You can see it. Every indicator, every global shift, every economic tremor is pointing in one direction. Precious metals are entering a critical phase. Inflation isn't slowing. Currencies aren't stabilizing. Governments aren't fixing anything. They're patching leaks on a sinking ship. And in the middle of all this chaos, your gold and silver holdings are waking up. Not gently, not slowly, but violently, like a beast that's been asleep for too long and suddenly smells fear in the air. So stay with me. Don't click away. Don't blink, because over the next few minutes, I'm going to break down exactly why this moment matters more than anything you've seen in the last decade, why silver is behaving like a loaded spring ready to snap upward, and why gold is no longer just a safe haven, but a frontline defender against a financial storm that's getting closer every single day. If you hold precious metals, this video will not just inform you, it will prepare you. Let's begin. Silver's volatility is its power, and most people don't understand what that really means. They hear the word volatility and immediately think danger, chaos, unpredictability. But the people who build wealth don't run from volatility. They study it. They respect it. And then they use it to their advantage. Silver doesn't behave like gold, and that's exactly why it becomes the weapon of the smart investor. Gold is steady, stable, conservative. It moves like a heavyweight, slow, controlled, predictable. Silver, on the other hand, is a lightweight fighter. It jumps, it swings, it reacts fast. It can soar in days and crash in hours. And in that violent movement lies the opportunity that traditional investors fear. Most people want comfort. They want the illusion of safety. They want their money to behave politely, to grow slowly, gently over decades. The world doesn't reward comfort. Financial systems don't stay stable forever. Currencies lose value. Governments print money like it's nothing. Inflation eats savings quietly while people sleep. And in times like this, the assets that move the fastest are the ones that reveal where true value is shifting. Silver's sharp swings aren't a flaw. They're a signal. They tell you the market is nervous. They show you that real money is repositioning. When silver spikes, it's usually because people are waking up to the weakness of the financial system. When it drops, it's often because big players are shaking out the small ones, creating fear to buy cheaper. This dance happens again and again, and those who understand it stop seeing volatility as danger and start seeing it as timing. Every historic silver run, and there have been many, begins the same way. A period of calm, a small uprising in price, then a sudden surge as the world realizes supply is tight and demand is rising. And because silver is used in technology, solar energy, medicine, electronics, and as a store of value, its demand isn't just emotional, it's structural. That means every time the global system faces uncertainty, the rush into silver accelerates. But here's the secret. Very few talk about silver. It doesn't need a massive global crisis to jump. It only needs a shift in confidence. When investors lose trust in currencies, when inflation creeps in, when central banks hesitate, silver becomes the metal that reacts first and reacts strongest. That reaction gives you the window, the brief moment when you can position yourself before the crowd panics or celebrates. Of course, volatility also means responsibility. You cannot treat silver like a savings account. You treat it like a strategic asset. You hold it because you understand wealth isn't built by standing still. You hold it because you know the world is changing faster than the old financial systems can handle. You hold it because when silver moves, it gives you the kind of opportunity almost nothing else in the market can offer. Some people will always prefer safety. They'll keep their money in the bank earning crumbs, convincing themselves they're being careful. The ones who study volatility know that silver, with all its unpredictability, isn't chaos. It's a map of code, a message from the market telling you where power is shifting. And those who listen to that message don't fear volatility. They master it. When people talk about silver, they usually focus on the price. But the real story isn't the price. It's the pressure building behind the scenes. What's happening right now with silver is simple. The world wants more of it, but the world can't produce enough of it. That imbalance is the kind of setup that has created some of the biggest wealth shifts in history. Silver isn't just a shiny metal that investors like to stack. It's the backbone of modern technology. Every time someone buys a smartphone, a laptop, a solar panel, an electric vehicle, medical equipment, even a basic household appliance, a small piece of silver goes inside it. It's not optional. There is no substitute that performs as well, conducts electricity as efficiently, or works as reliably. That means silver is tied directly to the future, to innovation, to energy, to technology, to expansion. And as the world pushes toward renewable energy and electrification, demand for silver is accelerating like never before. Solar energy alone has become a silver-devouring machine. Every solar panel needs silver. Every new gigawatt of solar power requires enormous amounts of it, and countries around the world are racing to install more solar infrastructure than ever because energy independence is becoming a national security priority, not a lifestyle choice. So what happens when a resource becomes essential, but production struggles to keep up? Pressure. And pressure in a market like silver can turn into explosive price movements. Mines can't magically increase output overnight. In fact, many mining companies are struggling with declining or grades. They're working harder, digging deeper, and extracting less. Silver production isn't rising, it's stagnating or falling. And when you have falling supply and rising demand, it creates a squeeze that investors can feel long before it hits the headlines. Then comes the second layer, investor interest. When ordinary people start worrying about inflation, currency weakness, or economic uncertainty, they turn to hard assets, and silver becomes one of the first places they look, not because it's safe, but because it moves fast and multiplies gains quickly. That surge of investor buying collides with already tight industrial demand, creating a tug of war over a limited amount of available metal. Think of it this way. Industrial buyers don't care about the price. They need silver to keep their companies running. If the price rises, they don't argue, they pay. Investors, on the other hand, rush in when they sense profit or fear financial instability. When these two forces hit the market at the same time, the supply available on the open market evaporates. That's when you see price spikes that shock the public. But they never shock the people who understand supply and demand. They've been watching the imbalance grow for years. Silver's current situation isn't an accident. It's the logical outcome of a world that demands more technology, more energy, more innovation, and a mining industry that simply can't keep up. So the squeeze tightens, the demand rises, the price reacts. And those who understand what's happening behind the scenes position themselves before the crowd realizes what's coming. Right now, the world is shifting, and most people don't even see it happening. They're too busy watching the news, scrolling through social media, or trusting the systems that have already started to crack. But if you pay attention not to the noise, but to the signals, you notice something important. The big macro forces are lining up in a way that historically has only meant one thing: precious metals coming back into power. Inflation isn't just a number anymore. It's a reality people feel every time they buy groceries, pay rent, or fill their tank. When prices rise quietly over months and years, your money doesn't just lose value, it erodes. And once people start noticing that the same amount of cash buys less than before, they begin to look for assets that don't shrink with inflation. That's where metals shine. They don't care if the currency is weak. They don't respond to political speeches. They don't vanish in a bank collapse. They simply hold value because value is built into them. Then you look at interest rates. Central banks spent years raising them to fight inflation. Now they face a new problem. Higher rates are choking economies. Businesses slow down. Debt gets heavier. Governments struggle to pay interest on what they owe. Eventually, they always do the same thing. They start cutting rates again. And every time rates fall, the value of cash and bonds sinks while real assets rise. Why? Because when money becomes cheap, people rush to put it somewhere that actually holds value. Metals have been that destination for centuries. And currencies are doing what they've always done over long periods, losing purchasing power. Every printed dollar, rupee, euro, yuan, every new injection of money into the system dilutes the value of the currency already in circulation. That's why people who understand wealth don't rely on paper promises. They rely on hard assets that governments can't print or manipulate with a keystroke. When people stop trusting what's in their wallets, they start trusting what they can hold in their hands. Add global uncertainty into the mix. Wars, trade disputes, political instability over leveraged economies, shaky banks, the kind of problems that create fear. And fear always pushes investors towards safety. Not the safety of banks or stock markets, but real safety. Assets that survive the storms rather than being swept away by them. And that's why precious metals are becoming attractive again. Not because of hype, not because of speculation, but because the fundamentals are screaming that the financial system is entering another turbulent cycle. When inflation rises, when interest rates fall, when currencies weaken, when the world becomes unpredictable, metals respond. They don't whisper, they move. This isn't about guessing the future or timing the market perfectly. It's about recognizing the pattern that has repeated itself again and again throughout history. Whenever the world becomes unstable and money becomes unreliable, shifts into tangible assets. And right now, all the macro forces are pointing to the same conclusion. Precious metals aren't just relevant again, they're necessary. People who see this early position themselves with confidence. People who ignore it usually wake up too late. Silver has always been misunderstood. People talk about it like it's just the little brother of gold, cheaper, smaller, less important. But what they don't realize is that this so-called little brother carries something gold will never have: leverage. And leverage is where real growth and real danger lies. Silver doesn't sit quietly like gold. It reacts, it moves. It jumps when the market twitches. It falls when the market panics. It climbs when confidence cracks. It behaves like an asset that refuses to wait for permission. And that movement is exactly what makes it powerful for anyone who knows how to handle it. Because silver isn't a major reserve metal held by central banks. It's not controlled, managed, or restrained in the same way. It's more of a free spirit, wild, unpredictable, and brutally honest. When demand rises even a little, it surges. When institutions sell a bit, it drops. With gold, the movements are controlled by governments and financial giants. With silver, the movements are controlled by emotion, by fear, by speculation, by industrial demand. That creates a unique effect. Small changes lead to big reactions. A slight shift in investor interest can send silver soaring. A minor increase in industrial demand can create a squeeze. A hint of economic fear can double the price. That's leverage. When the market shakes, silver doesn't tremble, it explodes. Of course, leverage cuts both ways. The same energy that can send silver skyrocketing can also drag it down violently. People who can't stomach volatility shouldn't pretend they can handle silver. It will test their patience, their discipline, their emotional control. It will push them to buy when they should wait and sell when they should hold. And the market loves to punish those who react out of fear. But for those who understand the game, silver becomes a weapon. Not a safe, gentle investment, a strategic one. The kind that multiplies gains far faster than gold ever could, The kind that punishes hesitation and rewards conviction, the kind that turns a small position into a serious win when the timing is right. Throughout history, silver's biggest moves have always happened in moments of financial stress. When the world questions paper money, silver is one of the first assets to go vertical. When inflation rises, silver accelerates. When industrial growth spikes, silver tightens. And because there's far less silver available than most people think, every surge becomes amplified. A small wave becomes a storm. That's why people who want explosive growth often look to silver before gold. Gold secures wealth. Silver multiplies it. Gold protects. Silver attacks. Gold is the foundation. Silver is the opportunity. But none of this works without courage. You can't ride silver's upside if you're terrified of its downside. You can't expect massive gains without accepting sharp pullbacks. You can't enjoy the leverage unless you're disciplined enough to withstand the volatility. Silver isn't for the timid. It's for the thinkers, the risk takers, the people who understand that wealth isn't built by playing safe forever. It's for those who know that sometimes the fastest moving asset isn't dangerous. It's the one pointing to the biggest opportunity. Silver gives you leverage because it isn't controlled. It gives you freedom because it isn't restrained. And it gives you explosive potential because it moves faster than almost anything else in the precious metals world. For the ones who dare, silver doesn't just offer returns, it offers transformation. If you already hold gold or silver, this is not the moment to relax or assume. Everything will sort itself out. This is the moment to pay attention, real attention, because your metals are not sitting quietly in a box or a vault. They're entering a phase where the world's instability is about to test their true value. And that can mean one of two things. You could be standing on the edge of the biggest profits you've ever seen, or staring straight into the kind of a volatility that shakes weak hands out of the market. Right now, prices are rising not because of hype, but because the world is drifting into uncertainty. Economies are slowing down, currencies are struggling, and governments are trying to solve long-term problems with short-term decisions. That creates an environment where precious metals come alive. They stop acting like collectibles and start acting like financial alarms. When metals move, it's because the system underneath them is shifting. If you already own gold or silver, you're not just an observer anymore. You're positioned, you have a front row seat to whatever comes next. Being positioned means you need to understand the moment you're in. When prices surge, most people get excited and start imagining profits. But seasoned investors see something different. They see both opportunity and danger rising together. Metals don't rise in calm waters. They rise when something underneath the surface starts breaking. Maybe inflation is persisting. Maybe central banks are preparing to cut rates. Maybe debt is spiraling out of control. Maybe global trade is weakening. Whatever the cause, the result is the same. Money begins to lose trust in the system, and it runs toward hard assets. That's why your metals are reacting. That's why charts are turning upward. That's why markets are getting nervous. And if you're holding gold or silver during a move like this, you need to stay sharp, not fearful, sharp. Because this phase can go in two directions. If the pressure continues, you could see explosive gains. Silver especially can triple or quadruple its price in a relatively short period when the world starts feeling uncertain. Gold, while steadier, can still climb to levels that surprise even experienced investors. But volatility will also rise. Sharp pullbacks will happen. Rumors, manipulation, sudden dips, speculative spikes. All of it shows up during times like these. The people who don't understand metals will panic. They'll sell too early or buy too late. They'll let emotion take control. And the market loves to feed on emotional mistakes. The key is to remember why you hold metals in the first place. You didn't buy them for entertainment. You bought them because you felt the world was heading toward instability. That instability is here now, and metals are responding exactly the way they were meant to. So if you're already holding gold or silver, understand the gravity of this moment. Don't sleep through it. Don't ignore the signals. Watch the markets. Study the trends. Track the global shifts. Your metals are entering a critical phase, and how you handle this phase could determine whether you walk away with significant gains or get thrown around by volatility. This is the time to stay alert, stay disciplined, stay educated, because the world is changing and your metals are reflecting that change in real time. So I ask you, are you going to ride this wave or watch it crush your opportunity from the sidelines? While 754 isn't just a price tag, it's a wake-up call to every investor who still thinks precious metals are old school. Size this moment. Re-examine your portfolio. Decide now whether you're going to be a spectator or a player, because in times like these, fortune doesn't favor the cautious. Fortune favors the bold. If you own gold or silver, watch this space. Stay alert, stay ready, and never forget, when the world shakes,